It's Matt, ESC United, your favorite Eurovision channel. Welcome to yet another episode of Mattitude, the Eurovision live stream where we talk about, you guessed it right, Eurovision, the news of the week, and there is a lot to talk about. But before I dive into it, I'm bringing in my good friend here, James, co-hosting with me today. So, James, how do you feel about this Eurovision week so far?
Very good. Some new announcements, some new faces to add to the mix, and some very fondly remembered old ones too.
Very much so. And we have actually a lot of breaking news just happening this morning. Well, this morning, my morning, because both of us, James and I, are on the other side of the world. For us, it's still early here. For the rest of you, it's already evening. But yeah, so we have a lot to talk about, so we should delve right into it. And as always, we'll go in for the news one after another. And any question, thoughts, feel free to share them in the chat, but always at ESC United, so we know that you are talking to us and not somebody else. And as always, follow us on social media. You know the drill. On Twitter, ESC United, or Matt, ESC United, if you want to follow me directly. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, all of the shenanigans, and our website is escunited.com. And please do me a favor, if you're watching this and you have not liked the video yet, do that, and also subscribe, because that always helps us out as well. And I think, James, we should talk about the first and obvious news that just has happened today. And there's just, I guess, nothing to say. Nothing says like happy holidays as Thickmas, as they call it. And this year, no exception. And while Albania this time around is not the first roster of songs that we received, that honor goes to Estonia, or at least partially. Eurovision fans are extremely excited, myself included, to watch the traditional kickoff show for the national final season. Interestingly enough, Albania this year, not the first one to release some of their songs, and not the first one to select the winning song, because we're going to get Bulgaria before that, but we'll talk about that in a moment. But anyway, earlier this month, the Albanian broadcaster revealed the list of participants for Festivale Ikenga's the 60th edition of it, almost around as long as Eurovision, if you think about it. It's crazy. There is a star-filled lineup with returners, newcomers, of course, and we're going to go through that real quick here. The list of participants this time around is divided into two categories here, and the individual song between established artists and new artists. Let me bring that up here real quick so we can all take a look at it. Hang on, if I knew how to click the button. Here we go. So let's take a look at some of the artists that are here. In terms of, let's look at the established artists. Now, the ones that stand out to me, and I want to hear your opinion on that as well. Merud, obviously a big fan favorite, controversial figure last year with his presentation and song that was selected. I remember Evi Reki and Rizarta Smaya. If I had to pick some of those out of the returning ones, those are the ones that I have my eyes on. Do you recognize some of these names, James, and someone that you're interested in?
Yes, right off the bat, one that so when I scan the list up, I naturally gravitate to the ones where I go, and it's like, oh no, Castro Zizo again. What's he gonna bring? Not gonna win, but
he brings it with a traditional sound, right? That we know from Albania.
Yeah. Does he do it well? I don't know. I find it interesting, and if anyone from Albania can school us on his sound, that'd be much appreciated, because I sound like a barbarian talking about him. Another one that brings to mind was one of our early leakers, Ronella Hajari. She put a 20-second clip up last night, or at least early this morning, European time, and that sounded like that'll be an interesting deviation from the ballad norms that we have come to expect from Thickmas. Again, that it probably won't win, but it sounds like it's going to be a fun song.
Yeah, and I haven't looked up the particular rules of this year's Festivale Kengis, but I am pretty sure that the concept that they're having is the same or almost identical what they had in previous years, and it will be heavily a panel jury decision on who is gonna go to Eurovision, meaning winning Festivale Kengis. Um, so that is to me a interesting thing because I'm always seeing often in Albania there is a difference between what the viewers often want and what then ultimately ends up winning. You think we're going to be in a similar boat this time around?
Depends on the quality of some of the ballads. I tend to hang around with perhaps an older crowd, so a lot of the outrage over "oh no, X did not win" sort of passes me by a bit. But yeah, with the way a lot of people are attaching to that 20-second clip of Secret, I could see we're going to get another. We're going to get another. Goodness me, sorry, I drifted in mid-sentence. Yeah, a lot of people are attaching themselves to that and setting themselves up for disappointment already.
Yeah, I hear on that. So, it said the song's already out. You can go to our website. The link here is from escunited.com. They're also on YouTube. We link it in there. And of course, just based on last year's, what you called it, dramatic attitude by a lot of people, I'm curious to see what Mirud's song sounds like because we know that he's probably not going to win, that the juries will not let it go through to Eurovision. That's the thing when you have juries that certainly go with a very similar sound that we're familiar with from Albania and that we often love. Although I like it when they take risks sometimes, and but it's working to a certain extent at least because Albania tends to just squeeze into the top 10 in the semis, and then that's somewhere in the middle or lower middle at Eurovision. Of course, it's not just that black and white. But yeah, those songs are out now, my friends, and neither James nor I have listened to them yet, because again, it's still fairly early here on our neck of the woods here. But of course, I will do a reaction video to the songs as well, and we'll share my favorites. Do you have a preference, James, in terms of I had the similar conversation with Sean last week. If you rooting just on paper, at least, of course, you will always root for the best song. I get that, but rooting for one of the established artists, or you want like new fresh blood, like the new artists go through instead?
I personally lean towards newer artists. Of course, it'll vary by contest. Because a lot of the times when I see a lot of familiar names, it's usually not for a good reason. It's like, oh God, this guy again. We'll get into one such one in Estonia's selection. So yeah, I do slight. If all else being equal, I tend to lean towards the new face.
Yeah, here's the thing with me. I love seeing new returning faces, but I'm always tend to root for the newer people. Like I love them in the national final, but I really want fresh blood to win and go to Eurovision. So it's kind of contradictory there. But I hear you on that as well. But in the end, of course, the best song should win. Plus, most of these, all of these acts, they've never won Festivale Kings. They've never experienced Eurovision. So it's not like, we have already a returning to Eurovision. So that is also a different story here. So first of all, thank you so much, Tauli, for your super chat. Let me ask real quick. I had a debate with my friends. Is it better to release entries earlier? I think it's better as it prevents all songs released in March. Thoughts? What do you think, James? Is it better to release them early so you're not all stuck with the whole shenanigans that happens in March? Or you think wait as long as humanly possible to create that hype is a better decision?
Personally, I'm a greedy bastard, and I want them all in December now. I want them now. But there again, you'd sit and marinate on them for months, and yeah, a lot of broadcasters would not like that. As it is, I don't mind the March drama because around here we've got the NCAA March Madness tournament. It's sort of the song version of that in Europe, when you get this just big batch of 20-odd countries just dumping all their songs in the space of a week.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, I guess I do have a preference to have a lot of songs released in March.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't necessarily think it makes a big difference in terms of chances at Eurovision. At least, I mean, I'm just talking anecdotally because look at the most recent winners. Italy, I mean, it's what came out in January or February. I mean, when it was released, but then the one in February or March. The year before, well, we didn't have the year before. 2019, then the Netherlands, they were one of the last ones. Toy was pretty much at the end. Portugal was kind of just closer to the end, I guess. But then Jamala was fairly early, I remember, in 2016 Ukraine. So I don't necessarily think that it's going to have a major impact in terms of Eurovision success. It's more, as James pointed out, a selfish approach. So that is, I'm kind of with him on that. But thanks for that question. I really appreciate that. That's a good question. And somebody needs to do like a cheat sheet and compare all the songs that have done really well, or like how they're placed. But then again, Albania is always early, so I don't know. But let's talk. I mean, check out the songs of Albania and see how it goes. So let's talk about our next topic, which is Sweden. And as you can see a lot of faces here on the screen, and whether on purpose or an accident, the Swedish broadcaster SVT released the 14 artists initially competing at the 22 edition of Melodifestivalen on their mobile app early. But then they also made an announcement, of course, on social media and everywhere. So we have the official announcement out, of course, by now. And we already talked about the first 14 acts, and the next ones have been added here. There are a lot of returning individuals. Some of them are, you will recognize many of the names. Anna Bergendahl participated in Melfest 3 times in 2010, where she won, and still today the only act at Eurovision from Sweden not to qualify from the semis. She also took part in 2019 and 20. Also wrote songs for Melodifestivalen. Who else do we have? Yes, of course, Robin Bengtsson. Competed in Melfest 3 times as well, 2016. Then in 2017, he won Melfest and actually represented Sweden, brought home a great 5th place, I believe. And then again in 2020. So, and then the numerous names returning to the national final here as well, as Malu Pritz took part a couple of times. Shirley Clam, she is a veteran there. From 2003 was her first participation. She had several of them actually under her belt. So she is returning. Lisa Mistrowski, she in 2012 took part. And who else do we have? Medina, apparently. Sami Rekic of the duo participating in 2021. Alvaro Estrella, we remember him. This will be his 4th participation, I believe. Lila Sister, a surprising second chance round candidate with from last year. And then a bunch of newcomers. Browsing Collection, Tenori, Lancelot, Malin Kristen, Angelino, and Tone Sekelius. Now, James, we already talked about our, on paper at least, preference between returning and new artists. But we got to talk about them, and looking at some of the names that are familiar to us in terms of Melfest or Eurovision exposure. Which one stood out to you the most and why? Or you're excited about, whatever you want to call it.
Okay, there's a couple in this list. The first one I'm going to go for is Lisa Miskovsky. I was a big fan of the song she did with In Flames on their 2006 album Come Clarity, which is a melodic death metal classic. Sort of transition from their classic Melodeath sound to the alternative metal sound they have today. And her song was certainly one of the important ones on that album. And for that reason alone, I'm happy to see Lisa Miskovsky, even though her sound is absolutely not melodic death metal. But I do like her singer-songwriter, her folk stylings. I'm surprised it took her this long to come back after 2012. But yeah, definitely happy to see her back.
Yeah. I always have a soft spot at Melodifestivalen to see some of the good oldies, the veterans. So I'm a little bit excited about Shirley Clamp. She's not going to go far, I don't think. I think second chance round, I think, screams at me, but maybe she'll prove us wrong. But yeah, this is what I'm like, wow, it's so cool to see her again after all these years. So just for the nostalgic reasons, I'm really excited about that. And other than that, I'm not like super thrilled with most of the returnees, so I will go with the obvious answer, Anna Bergendahl, only because I always have a soft spot for her. Because after that very most traumatizing experience in 2010, it took her what 10 years or 9 years to come back after that, how it affected her, and then doing really well, and now she's embracing it as an artist, as a songwriter, and I'm just very happy for her that she found that place. And she's been doing quite well at Melodifestivalen. Her most recent, well, personal effort, like her participating herself as an artist in 2020, she came in third place. I mean, winning Melodifestivalen is difficult. So I'm still excited about her, even though it's fairly expected, predictable. I don't know, but I'm still happy for them. But yeah, we're going back to the topic. I'm looking forward to the new faces and see if one of them can actually wow us. Now, similar question to you, James, about what I was just talking about in Albania. Sweden is known to go for a specific sound, right? That does really well at Eurovision for the most part, or at least decent, but then it's not always necessarily super high in like the fan polls, everything, but it has that sound that works at Eurovision, but is not often considered like classics or like groundbreaking material. Do you think that with a new executive supervisor at Melodifestivalen, things may be a little different? What is your hunch telling you? Or what are you hoping? What are your hopes?
Well, I'm hoping they mix it up. Because I'm one of those paranoid people who says the Sweden train is going to crash. This formula can't last forever. I'm surprised, and this isn't a reflection on last year's performer. I actually thought he was great. He was just saddled with a boring Melfest songwriter camp song. I just feel that this formula is going to crash, and I would rather Sweden recognize it before that happens, because we don't want to have another Anna Bergendahl, because we know how the Swedes get self-flagellating when they do make their one non-qualification. And by the way, as an aside, as a fan of the United Kingdom, oh, boo-hoo-hoo, you only non-qualified once in your entire lifetime.
I know, right?
Yeah.
You get over it. No, and you're absolutely right. They had this little lull, you can say, from 2007 to 2010. That was like almost a half a decade where they just couldn't do as well at Eurovision. I mean, yes, you can say they qualified, but they barely qualified and then flopped in the finals, right? Or they were directly qualified in 2007. But yeah, they were struggling for a little while. So this could happen if they stick to the same formula that may work for a while, that may become stale, and maybe last year, or it's technically still this year in terms of the calendar year, effort is a slight indicator that maybe they need to switch it up a little. Yes, they still have done well. They're at mid-table in thing, but considering how they've been doing in previous years, that is definitely a disappointment, I would think. So that is definitely the my thinking here. Do you think, hoping that Sweden may be more open to a song in Swedish? Now we had all these non-English songs do so well at Eurovision this past edition, or you think Sweden will never go for Swedish songs in this day and age?
I've heard that point being brought up amongst fans of Western and Southern Europe with the native language, but it seems like the Swedish fans, in terms of their own language, are paranoid this year about that, because of how Denmark did this year with their native language. Personally, I loved Fyr och Flam. I thought it was fantastic. But I suspect that that Denmark's performance might have more of a bearing on Sweden and how a Swedish act might perform, rather than because Swedes tend to be very, I guess, self-aware, but also hard on themselves too, and they'll be the first to tell you, "Oh, our language not sexy like French." So they do have a bit of what's the word? Self-deprecating, not depreciating, not self-deprecating. Jesus Christ! They do tend to depreciate themselves and their own language. I wish they wouldn't, but I suspect that might have their bearing, and that still make them steer towards a generic English song than something in their own tongue.
Yeah, I think with a very charming song, kind of down the line of Clara Klingenström, Hammarström. I mixed them up. Which was the one who sang in Swedish? Hammarström or Klingenström? One of those two girls from last year. One was singing "Beat of Broken Hearts," the other one singing that really quiet, like simple Swedish song, but it just touched people's hearts and it really got into people. I'm hoping something like that could be recreated this year, and I'm hoping maybe with the new supervisor they will try something different, but I don't see that happening, especially just looking at the list of songs here. Like, there are a few in Swedish, but for the most part they are English. I love one slut song, "Lick Lick Slut." Lick Lick
Yeah.
Slut. That makes me giggle when I read that title. Now watch YouTube censoring us for cursing. So yeah, that's like three. No, they have a few.
Which means happy ending, if I recall correctly. So there's that extra.
Slut means level. Ending. Or I know they're not going to pronounce it that way. They're going to say probably "slut" or something like that.
Yeah, well, that's what Google Translate tells me anyway. That the "licklich slut" means happy ending.
Licklit slut. No, I call it licklit. Licklit slut. So now no one can change my mind. So yeah, but yeah, I'm very much in favor of a Swedish song, and people always, people are always so harsh on that language. They go, "It's not a pretty language." I'm like, when you sing it, it's actually quite charming to me. And yes, I'm worried that the Danish failure to qualify, barely though, they were in 11th place, and they did really well with the televoters, which I know didn't come as a surprise to me. It's the juries, because that makes me mad, and that's why I'm thinking, especially since Sweden Melodifestivalen has a international jury in place, they will drown any song, I think, that is in Swedish from the get-go, which I've been, and I said last week as well, I'm a big proponent of juries at Eurovision, but I'm not international juries, but I'm not a proponent of international juries in national finals, because it's just a very different animal in my view. So we shall see. Did you look at the list from last week as well, by the way? I'm not sure if you remember who was on there. Top of your head, that someone you were excited about?
Yeah, speaking of singing in Swedish, I'd be interested to see how your international jury takes John Lundvik singing in Swedish. If anything, him with his background, he was raised in London, I think. So he's got sort of an internet. So someone like him singing in Swedish, that'll be a great advertisement for the language. And I don't think he'll be as easy for an international juror to write off as, Arvin Garner, for instance, who you can just say, "Oh, it's those dancing old fossils again." Yeah. A little harder to dismiss Lundvik when he sings in Swedish.
That is true. I'm wondering if he has more the approach that like Danny had last year, because he wasn't really going for a Melfest win. He was mostly there to promote his album and his career kind of thing, right? So I don't know what John Lundvik's mindset is with this. We'll find out soon enough. But yeah, that's the big wild card, I think, out of all the ones. John Lundvik singing in Swedish. That was definitely a big surprise. So the songs we won't get until the actual week of rehearsal. So how it works, in case you've never ever watched Melfest, the week of the show, which always falls on a Saturday, Monday or Tuesday, that's when they start rehearsing. We get like 30-second snippets of the song, or like the performance actually, from the rehearsals, just to give us a taste. And then as time progresses, we get closer, we get the actual songs, and then then on the evening, of course, we get the whole performance. So you will have to wait a long time until February for the first semifinals to hear the first songs. But at least at some point in the near future, we will get the allocation of the semifinals and the running order and all of that stuff. So at least something to look forward to, but it's not really music. But hey, it is something, right, to look forward to. So since there are no other questions about Sweden, we'll move on to our next topic. And again, people in the chat at ESC United, if you have thoughts, comments, or questions about the topic at hand, and at the very end, we will do a actual open Q&A if there's interest. So, moving on. And we got to talk about it. I mean, this is so weird. Can you believe that in just a couple of days, we will have the first Eurovision song already? I'm trying to remember the last time this happened, but let me take a step back. So, as pointed out, the first song will be released in a couple of days, because last Thursday, actually, Bulgaria, they announced that the rock group, supergroup Intelligent Music Project will represent them at the contest in Turin, and the Bulgarian delegation announced that in a tweet that the band will premiere their Eurovision entry Intention on December the 5th, which is, again, in 2 days, technically less than 2 days, because it will be released at 8 a.m., so a day and a half. We're only away from today, which is Friday. And the name of this, it was announced on the show, Denyad Zapovka Georgi Lubinov. Oh dear, that's not a catchy name. But anyway, the song in itself basically is a song about own growth, about leaving the safe zone that you're in, following your impulses. That's according to the song producer and the composer of the song, of Intelligent Music Project. It's a dynamic, that's how they describe it, because I haven't heard it yet, but they describe it as a dynamic festival rock song, and they believe that it is accessible to a wider audience. So, and they're actually not just, because at first they just want to try something different. They still believe that they can win the contest with that song. And Bulgaria has been aiming for that for quite some time. So, James, I not that you don't like mainstream music, but you certainly have, let's just say, appreciation for niche or less ordinary sounds. Was that standing out to you? Are you excited, or are you cautiously optimistic? What are your thoughts? I'm dying to hear.
So let me get this straight. Bulgaria thinks that they can win Eurovision 2022 with a band whose music I've watched, and a lead singer that veers towards a classic rock sound. So they think they're going to win with Whitesnake? Okay, it's a bit of a puzzling choice to me. Personally, I like it. I think Ronnie Romero is one of the most talented rock vocalists out there. He's a very good test run, I think, for Dino Jelusic, should we wish to finally get that junior Eurovision winner attempt down. He sort of sings in that similar style. But yeah, I was sort of puzzled by this choice. Unless they totally surprise me, and Intention is something thoroughly modern sounding. But given the track record of all the performers and their influences, I highly doubt it. I just think the video, if you go to the Eurovision.tv website and you see the profile of this project and you see the video there, it's Ronnie Romero and a girl driving around on an abandoned airstrip in a Chevy Camaro. That's gonna tell you all you need to know about the song. It's a Whitesnake-esque rock song in a Camaro. Their other mode is one of those ballads where you get out your Zippo lighter, or you load the Zippo lighter app on your phone and hold it up. Sort of like Guns N' Roses' Patience. Mm-hmm. So we're going to get either a Whitesnake rocker, or we're going to get a Guns N' Roses Patience, a tender acoustic ballad.
And now I'm going back to the obvious question, but we have to ask it. Do you think they were inspired by Italy's sound? Like, hey, we can try something a little bit out of the box, since it may work at Eurovision, or you think it's just coincidence?
It's a weird approach. It'd be like, hey, Dad, some Italian kids won Eurovision. You want to get the guitars out, and we can try. We can be 45 and 70-year-old rockers winning this thing. It'd be a very strange decision to say, hey, some Italian kids want to rock. Let's send some dudes who, in the youngest guy, I think, is Ronnie Romero himself at 38. And also with the sound from the 1980s. I would like to think it's coincidence, and I would like to think it's Bulgaria as a delegation again being cheap, and they're looking for a performer who comes with their own money and funding. So we know that the producer, he's Dr. Milan. Sorry, I'm terrible with Bulgarian. But he's a very rich physician. He produces and writes a lot of their songs. He's sort of a behind the scenes producer figure. We know he's loaded to the gills. So I'm just wondering if Bulgaria was he was approached by him and it's like, I got cash to fund this, son. And the Bulgarian delegation's like, all right.
Yeah, I think I lean towards agreeing with you on this one. I don't think necessarily that they went this way because of Italy's win. Now, there was a complete change in like the delegation. They recently, announced that there's new people in charge as well, so that may play a factor. I'm a little hesitant, a little wary, because it felt to me this was quite rushed. Everything, the decision who to pick, and then putting a song forward this fast, rather than just going through a proper process. They must either feel very confident about the song that they're like, this is it, no changes, or they just kind of just went with this for the reason that you just mentioned, because kaching. And I don't know. So I am a little, I wouldn't say pessimistic, but I'm certainly cautious right now. I'm not as confident about the song yet, but I'm more than happy for Bulgaria to prove me wrong. And that is where we're at. And anyone else, I mean, if you have thoughts at ESC Night in the chat about the Bulgarian choice and what to expect. Ibrahim Kalam is saying, I think Bulgaria doesn't want to organize in 2023. Which we get that a lot every time somebody sends a song that is a little less conventional. When they send conventional song in the past, that's their approach. But I don't know I never know if I can buy that excuse, only because if you win, you can just say, no, I don't want to do it. There's no like penalty or punishment. Like, I know for sure that San Marino is not going to host it should they win, right? I think we all know that. So do you think they always will try to not win? I don't think so. And there are other countries I can see that don't want to necessarily host it, but the prestige of winning and the exposure, I think that alone would be a great thing. What do you think, James?
Yeah, I think so. Well, who was the last volunteer withdrawal? We have to go back to what, 80 for Israel? To be the last cut winner to say, nah, I don't want to host it. And then before them, it was Monaco or somebody like that.
Mm-hmm.
If I recall correctly. But yeah, I think this idea about deliberately sabotaging it, it was popularized with by the Irish in the early 90s.
Yeah.
To the point where they actually did an episode of the popular sitcom Father Ted, which was actually about sending 3 incompetent priests to Eurovision just so they could stop winning.
Oh, I heard about that. That is funny. Yes. And I'm trying to think back. I get it. There is a little bit more pressure on it, because when was the last time someone refused to host? Was it Israel in 1979?
Yeah, I think it was Israel. Yeah, I mentioned it just now. I think it was Israel, and then before them it was Monaco. But Monaco.
Oh, Monaco. You said Monaco. That's right. I heard Monaco. I didn't hear Israel. Sorry. Yes, Monaco for sure. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, Israel. You're right. I forgot about that part. Yeah. So, but I will say yay for diversity, because I don't necessarily think we're going to get a whole lot of sound like that. And I do think, especially when you have a niche that could work in your favor, think of Hungary 2018. But again, we don't know for certain what the sound's going to be like. It's a festival rock song. That's all we know. But that is a very broad description as well. So that could go
Yeah.
either way. But again, on December 5th, so just in a couple of days, get ready for the first song. I am excited. Ducklan is saying, I think it was partially a coincidence. Maybe they were planning something like this last year, and then it was a coincidence that Måneskin won. It could go down that route, although I find Ali Pons Rosendal's comment interesting. There is no such thing as coincidence. I think there is. I've had many situations happen to me coincidence, unless you believe in fate. If you believe in fate, maybe. But I do believe there is such a thing as coincidence. So, and I see some other questions that are not related to the current topics. I will answer that, or we will answer those at the end. We just want to get through the topics of the week quickly first. And of course, we got to talk about, guess what? Czech Republic, because get ready for the first national final of the 2022 season. Well, it's not a national final in the traditional sense, but a national final nevertheless. So I'm going to read you the post that came from the Czech broadcaster in terms of what's going to happen. And I'm going to read. We understand that you are already craving for some information about ESCZ 22, and quite understandably, it's just around the corner, so let's get to it. We have 7 finalists in the bid, this time women predominant in a ratio of 4.5 to 2.5 math there. Deliberately, what do you think the halves mean? Interesting. They all recorded their performances in the form of live on tape, similar to ESC, live main vocals, background music playback. So you will have much more of a realistic material for your decision making than ever before in ESCZ. Now we are incredibly, they put that in caps, proud to the live performances. They were fantastic, and we have done a big step forward than previous years for the whole ESCZ, mainly thanks to the fantastic 2 new members of the creative team, and whose names will be revealed on the 6th of December at the press conference at 1 p.m. Now, the genre selection for the finalists is even more diverse than in 2020, and you can look forward to everything from artsy ballads to very hard guitars and everything in between. And voting, again, there will be an opportunity to vote through the official Eurovision app, but it will also be possible to use the web interface, which is also a big step forward in the process of voting. Voting is free, no paid SMS or paid apps. It's already announced. The new voting ratios are 50% international juries, 25% international fans, that's us, and 25% Czech fans. We also see this as a big step forward that will help artists gain new international fans already during the national final. And it will be possible to vote from the 7th of December all the way through the 15th. And we will give you the winner the day after, the 16th of December, before Christmas. If you have any questions here, go ahead, and we're already equally interested in guessing your finalists. So that is what they said. Now, we heard a few things already, and my first question to you, James, is, putting you on the spot, what does it mean, halves, ratio 4.5 to 2.5, when it comes to the gender, bro? Do you have any idea what that means or what they're talking about? Anybody in the chat, let us know.
I'm guessing one of them is a duet.
Oh, I guess, yeah, but wouldn't they still count them as whole, like, I guess that could be a duet, I guess. But I think the fact that they kind of made it a thing, maybe it's a drag queen. That was my first thinking. Something like that. They do something like that they kind of more like the Conchita verse route. I don't know how they would count it there. I have no idea.
Wouldn't drag queens take offense to be
that's
half
true.
and half?
That is true. Well, because you would, a lot of people don't know. So that's the problem. That's why I'm worried they're not going to do something like that. But especially depending where you're from, that may not necessarily be an insult. But I don't know if Conchita took offense because they are portraying them. The act itself is a woman, but
right.
The artist, it's not. So that's always first. Maybe that's how they're going to look at it. I don't know. Some people say the non-binary thing, and that would be interesting because you wouldn't think that Czech Republic would be the one that had the first one go with like a non-binary singer. or at least identify openly as non-binary. So that would be another.
Well, that
thing.
was Roxanne last year anyway.
Oh, she did? I didn't know that.
I thought she identified as non-binary, but
did she? I never heard of that. Could be wrong, but
yeah,
that is interesting.
I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Anyway, so there was also, I don't think they mentioned that in here in this post, but they previously talked about a returning artist. Like one of the acts is a returnee. And looking at fairly short history, who do you think could be a returnee?
It's that Lake Malawi guy.
I was going to say the same thing. The friend of a friend of a friend.
Yeah, that guy, he tried to get in. He tried to get in for Poland last year. It's like he's not going to stop.
Yeah. Somebody in the chat, by the way, confirmed Roxanne is non-binary. I didn't even know that that was a thing. Oh, interesting. I'm still learning. It wasn't. I wasn't surprised it wasn't made more of a. Maybe it's not a big deal anymore, even at Eurovision. So maybe that's a good thing. Who knows? But yeah. So what do you want from Czech Republic? So they're currently been doing. Oh, they had hit and misses. I mean, they had like a good run in 2016, 2018. I mean, best result. 2016, the first qualification. 2019, this past year didn't make it. What do you want from Czech Republic, or do you just want them to continue what they're doing like this? They're more of a wild card, in my view. How do you?
Yeah, I like what they're doing. I like I like that they throw in curveballs like Pam Rabbit, and I like that she mixes it up every year. She does it too. I feel bad for Benny Cristo in a way because I liked his 2 entries, and he seems like a very nice chap. So I always feel bad when very objectively nice people bomb. But in terms of the selection, I would just say keep doing what they're doing. Keep sending the hipsters' choice type indie rock acts. Like they had one a couple of years ago called We All Poop or something. Just keep sending groups like that. I think they'll find success if they stick with that more avant. Not so much indie, but actually, no, I take it back. If they kind of go with the indie route, one of them will stick and do very well for them, as Lake Malawi did a couple of years ago.
Yeah, at least Czech Republic knows there is no such thing as they can't do well because they've never done well, because they have proven they can do really well at the contest and they can also suck really bad at the contest. So for them, it's like all the way to the top, to the bottom for them. And that makes it kind of fun with them, actually. And yes, Benny Cristo, by the way, was super nice. He approached me in the press and he's like, I know you. And he was just flying through the press center on his, I call it hoverboard, thing. He was just, he was having so much fun. So even though I personally wasn't like crazy about the song or the staging, I loved his whole ism. I just was really liked that about him. So that is what's going to happen. So in just a few days, we get more songs. It is so fun to have actually stuff happening now. This past year, I know, different circumstances. It was just so weird how the songs were released. We had early names, but we had like no songs until like God knows when. So I'm glad that this is changing now. So thank you, Bulgaria, and thank you, Czech Republic. And yes, by the way, James, I meant to ask you that. How do you like the setup, the national finals setup, like with the 50% juries and the international fans? I would say, do you like that idea?
I'm kind of paranoid, and I'd worry that that perhaps the international fans could sabotage in a way or go for a gimmick. I'm thinking of people like Roy, our friend Roy from the Netherlands, who latched on to a very terrible Estonian novelty song last year about wooden houses. And he just kept blasting on social media about this poxy song.
Well, you remember his favorite at Eurovision.
Oh yeah,
Ocean, I wanna hear you.
Yep. So So I could see, a large collective of fans because he had a lot of people egging him on Twitter. So I could see a large group of fans like, "Oh, what's the crappiest novelty song? Oh, this looks like a rap song put together by a bunch of dads who play basketball. Let's vote for them." I could see that backfiring.
Yeah, that is true. And no offense to our friend Roy, we're you only tease the one you love, right? So
No,
I
tons of
appreciate that he has a different taste because if we all had the same taste, it would be flipping boring.
yeah, that's true, and
Yeah.
tons of offense meant, Roy, your taste is terrible.
Well, yeah, that's science, but I'm still glad we have it. But no, I mean, I get it. I mean, I got so much heat for my opinion on Italy this year, right? But that's kind of how it goes. You cannot always be what the masses like every single time. So
Oh yeah, and
that's
HCB brings up a point. Remember a couple of years ago, a really horrible song called "Space Sushi" coming in second at the Czech selection.
oh, I remember that. Oh my God, that's right.
Yeah,
Could you? It was, and here, okay, I'm gonna say it was strangely appealing. I get it. I was kind of like this. I'm fascinated by it. I didn't think I wanted to one, but it kind of captivated me. I remember that song. I was like, "This is trash." Then why am I keep listening to it? It's one of those things that like, no, I don't like it. No, I don't play with Transformers. That kind of stuff. So yeah, so I hear what you're saying. So that's very interesting. We'll see what the song selection will be like, but at least we have more music. I am super excited. Let's talk a little bit more about like Eurovision in general, and and it's not a change, it's a thing that actually happened last year. We saw the change in the contest requiring all delegations to record a live on tape performance of their Eurovision song in the event of travel restriction, of COVID case occurred, all of that stuff during the rehearsals or before. Now, ideally, no one would use them, but just as a precaution. Last year, we all know Montaigne from Australia had to use it because of the very strict um, travel regulations from Australia. They team couldn't go, so they used that pre-recorded version. Iceland, on the other hand, traveled to Eurovision Rotterdam, but then one of the members got COVID, so they just used a clip of one of their rehearsals. So that worked out. So it was used in place of the live on tape performance, which was way better. I mean, they finished in 4th place and they had a really good run through. I remember that as well. Now, as said, the live on tape performances will be required again in 2022 contests in the event that a delegation or artist cannot travel to Turin, and all the delegations have been alerted that this requirement is in place so they can adjust their plans to record those performances by the submission deadline. This requirement becomes alongside the EBU continuing to pre-recording backing track that we're talking about at Eurovision, that they don't have backup singers as of right now, and probably never again, regardless, put COVID aside. It is again likely that a lot of the countries will partner up to share the cost of the recording live on tape. It has happened last year. We saw like Moldova, Greece, Cyprus, Malta. They're all recorded in Bulgaria, their performance. And then I know North Macedonia with Serbia, and then Germany with Lithuania. So a lot of them teamed up to save a few bucks. But it is not known yet if the EBU will do once again broadcast like the live on tape celebration, similar what we had in 21, where after the contest we had like 2 shows where we get to watch them, most of them except for Ireland and the UK, who said get to watch them there. So in regards to that, right decision, James? What do you think?
Yeah, especially considering the emergence of the Omicron variant this week that has scared the entire world. Yeah, it's good to have that as a backup because we don't know what the situation with COVID's going to be on the ground.
5 months is a long time in this world. Yeah.
Knock on wood, we don't need it, and we're able to have a great time there. But as a just in case, good precaution to have.
Yes, I agree with that as well. I don't think, and you can feel free to disagree. I mean, again, everything is subject to change and things could go really down the drainer. Hopefully not. But if things are as they are right now, I don't think it's going to be worse than what we had in Rotterdam. I think Rotterdam at this point to me is probably more of a worst case scenario where there's limited press, limited fans, and that kind of setup, testing every 48 hours. Again, God forbid something really bad happen that would change. But from what we're seeing right now, I don't see that happening. But yes, you have to be careful because I was there last year or this past year, and I've witnessed some people how how easy they just like forget all the rules. And I get it, we're humans, right? We just want to be close, hug each other, just don't have something cloth covering our face. I get all of that, but it is tricky there because we do know some people just don't follow the rules, and that always made me nervous. I know that some people coming to Eurovision didn't follow the quarantine guidelines either. And so they have to do what they have to need to protect themselves, their reputation, and just the people. So I think that is the right thing to do. Now, James, we have Junior coming up in a few weeks. They
Correct.
don't have these recordings. What do they use, the video, or what do they do? I think they use the preview video in case someone gets sick, right?
I believe so, yes. And
Yes.
this year they're already taking extra precautions. None of the rehearsals are open to the public now. They shut those down. So no word on if they're changing it for the final itself, but yeah, they've already made modifications to the show in Paris.
Yeah, and since we're on there, I'm going to read a quick statement in regards to Junior Eurovision. In response to the exceptional health situation in Europe right now, and to ensure the presence on stage of each of our 19 artists, France Televisions has decided to only admit an audience to the live show of the Junior Eurovision Song Contest on Sunday, December 19th. Those who have booked tickets for the dress rehearsal on Saturday should contact La Scène Musicale directly. I don't know why I keep talking like that. They can receive a full refund or transfer the tickets to the live show on Sunday, December 19th. And tickets are still available for the live broadcast of the Junior Eurovision Song Contest and from the website, where the health and safety measures for attending the show can also be found. So anyone who has any thoughts in the chat about that as well in terms of COVID and hosting, let us know at ES United, your thoughts, your fears. I shared my thoughts right now in terms of what's going to what I think the most likely outcome is. James, do you agree, or what do you think is like the more likely outcome for Italy? Do you think they're going to have like these different stage, like what they did, this different what they're called, not phases, scenarios, like that, these 4 different scenarios, a full Eurovision, something Eurovision. Do you think that's what we're going to have again? That's how they're going to look at it, or how I think it's going to progress based on your estimation?
I think they're going to do that again. The only difference is they're going to require vaccines this time. I think that'll be the only modification to the those 4 stages. A scenario A, B, C, or D.
True.
That'll be the big difference between those 4, but I can see them going with something similar.
Yeah, I'm curious. There's so much logistically that makes my head explode, because it's different for people in the EU than outside of the EU. Like, as an American, we have our own little cards, and then the booster shots, and what is being acknowledged and recognized, what papers are accurate. It makes my head spin. Excuse me. So there's going to be a lot of confusion going on, I'm sure. I'm just really sad. I know I'm very careful when it comes to the whole COVID thing anyways, but I would be still sad if we don't have a Euro Club again, and just be like, okay, I am in Europe. I'm in Rotterdam on the other side of the world. All I can see is my apartment and the press center. That's all I saw, basically, for the most part. So I'd hate being in a similar position again. But I once the EBU and they have guidelines in place, I will follow them just because I do understand the predicament that they are in, and I would hate having to spend thousands of dollars going to Eurovision. I mean, literally thousands of dollars, and then be not being able to do anything. Like, oh, because of my unwillingness to protect myself, I now sit in my apartment. I can no longer get to the press center. So yes, I follow the rules to the T, basically. But Pia saying, yeah, Jakob saying, hopefully nothing will happen. That is our hope. And we just have to monitor the Omicron variant right now. Anyways, there are some good news coming currently right now in the initial findings that it may not be as bad as people may have feared, but that could change as well. And there's always a chance of other variants popping up because, again, we're still months and months away from Eurovision. So we need to be careful about that. So let's see what other people are saying. It's understandable. Health and safety of everyone involved is a top priority. Go into the show with low expectations as far as who is going to perform on stage in Paris. Yep, that is basically how I feel. And I think now, unless we have any other thoughts, let's open it up. Anything Eurovision related at ESC United in the chat. And
Estilao.
Oh, Estilao. I forgot about it. Oh, thank you so much. I had it up earlier and then I removed it. So let's talk about, because Estilao is coming up. And coming up is the third quarter final. I still haven't listened to any of them. But we have some big names, or like familiar names, I should say, in this particular lineup. The big one is, of course, Elina Nechayeva, who represented Estonia with her opera pop song in 2018. She is returning with a song called Remedy, and she is the big one. Alabama Watchdog, the controversial act from last year, at least according to some, is also returning. And I will actually, since I'm already have it up here, I'm going to share my screen again. Hold on tight. And then I would love to hear your thoughts, James, if someone is standing out to you. Here we go. Here are the 10 acts. 5 of them will move on to the semifinal stage. Stefan is also a very big name in Estilao area because he's been taking part almost every single year. What are your thoughts when you saw that list, James?
Celine. Anna Celine. Runaway.
Oh, I forgot about her. So yes,
third in 2002, dude.
Yes, it's Runaway. It's like I always think of the song when I hear of I Believe I Can Fly, which is really awkward, not talking about R. Kelly. But it's just melodically, it's enough, and I believe I can fly, just run away to the stars. It's just almost the same melody. But yeah, she also took part in Melodifestivalen before. Are you looking forward to her, or is there somebody else that you really like, those that you recognize at least, that you are intrigued by?
Well, Alina for one. She came in 8th with Forza.
Yes.
Yeah, she's great. I'd like to see opera become a force at Eurovision. So yeah, I'd like to see her do really well. Hopefully they give her a slightly better song, a more interesting composition for her to sing on top of. So she's definitely one I'm looking forward to.
Do you think there is a chance that she doesn't want to do opera and just going to do a pop song? Or you think she has her niche and she knows that's how she can stand out? Would you be shocked if she's going to go just pop or any other genre? It's like pop opera. I get that. But, the operatic aspect of the song, if she were to drop that, would you be surprised?
Yeah, I would. It would be disappointing. It'd be like if Eddie Van Halen, if Van Halen had entered Estilao and Eddie Van Halen sat on a chair with his arm crossed and said, "I'm not playing guitar."
That's a nice comparison. I think Elina would appreciate that.
Yeah. As fans, we demand that she sings opera. Anything else, you're wasting your ability.
I'm hoping for Stefan to bring something this year. His music is really just kind of boring to me. It's just this very, boy band pop, middle of the road song that really don't resonate with me. So I really want him to wow me this time around. So I'm definitely curious what he brings to the table, because until now he has not been really like somebody I was getting super excited about. But yeah, so again, this will be the next quarterfinal tomorrow. 5 of them will move on. 5 will be therefore eliminated. James, have you listened to any of the other quarterfinals yet, or are you still also kind of like in like the unknown right now?
I'm in the unknown. I was so tempted to listen to Stig Rasta, but it's like, nope, I'm going to wait to closer for it to all shake out, and then I'll go back and listen to the qualifiers and then also the non-qualifiers.
Yes.
I just kind of prefer to do it in bulk personally.
Yeah. Well, I try to do, but I just don't have time right now. So I will commit to the semifinal. So once all this qualifiers are known, that's when I will listen to it. I just can't get to it right now. So if you're going to ask opinions of the songs, don't, because nobody on our team seems to listen to them yet. Sean hasn't listened to them either. But now we can do the open session just for a few minutes at ES United. Anything, questions, comments, concerns, Eurovision, or whatever you want to talk about at ES United in the chat. Jelly S is asking, hey Matt, Lakshmi is the rumored artist for the Netherlands. Me, as a Dutchie, thinks this is very likely to happen. Armin van Buuren also submitted a song, but it was rejected. So I do know Armin van Buuren. I don't know Lakshmi. Do you know Lakshmi?
Oh, yeah. I heard of her 30 minutes before coming on this live stream. All I know is she's Dutch Surinamese.
Okay.
So third year in a row, I guess, we'd have Dutch Surinamese. And then I believe she was big on the Dutch TV show Who is the Mole? That's all I know about her. Sorry, I don't have my finger on the pulse of Dutch.
That's okay. Yeah, I don't know her. For some reason, my typing isn't working, so that's okay. I don't know her either, so I cannot really comment on that particular act. But I'll try to check her out. It's a she, right? Likshma. Oh, fuck, I name already.
Lakshmi.
Lakshmi. Sorry,
think Padma Lakshmi from Top Chef, but she's not Padma.
You really think I watch Top Chef?
I don't know.
I barely know how to do ramen. So now cooking shows drive me nuts. I just can't. I really like this, but I don't. But it's a little good, but it's a little bad. And I was like, shut up! Just eat it and shut up. I don't enjoy watch people cook or eat. If I don't eat, I don't need to watch people eat. That's my little rant. It's done. Jelly is giving some information. Her songs are very dark, a bit Victoria-ish, but her sound is more unique. Now, is she the one? And I could be wrong. So during this show, there was this one interval act, that singer, like with that big water wall. That she was singing in the water about water and all of that stuff. Remember that?
No, that's not her.
That's not her? Okay. No, I'm not saying it's not her. I'm just saying she was somebody that they wanted to go to Eurovision. I remember that name was brought up a lot. So I wasn't sure if that is really something that could happen. I've never heard of that person before. So, but again, I don't know much about international acts outside of Eurovision unless they're somewhat associated with it, because, I suck. Okay, my Eurovision TV is saying, I wouldn't mind another win for the Netherlands. To be honest, the organization and hosting was amazing. I really had the best time in my life there. Oh, you were there? Are you one of the few individuals that were able to go? That's wonderful. I want them to win again in a few years as well, only because I want them to have the full experience of hosting it. Because basically all they did was host a con. They didn't do anything around it. There was no Euro Village, Euro Cafe, Euro Club, all these big things. Well, they had a red carpet thing, but other than that, it was a very scaled down event. Not scaled down because it still had so much more to do with all testing and safety and all of that stuff. That's a different thing that others don't have to deal with. But I want them to have like the full normal experience as well. So hopefully in a few years.
Knowing the Netherlands, they're going to have a run of form like they did in the 2000s with the toppers and that girl with the Indian headdress.
Get the bad stuff out of the way and then get it for the lull and then come back up. But maybe we'll see. I mean, they have one bad result now. And last year, one of the 4 0-pointers from the televoters.
He didn't deserve that, by the way.
Really? Yeah. I mean, I never nobody deserves 0 points. I'm always thinking, but I wasn't crazy about the song, but I thought people would appreciate it more.
Yeah.
All right. That's a good question from HCB. James, are you ready? You're gonna go first, because I have to think. Random question. You have the ability to change one winner from any ESC. Who do you choose? Change one winner.
I'm just going to pick one off the top of my head. Emily DeForest at Farid Mammadov.
Really? Yeah, if you only look, it's interesting because I was not a fan of Only Teardrops either. I didn't expect you to pick it. I forgot about that one. I probably would have picked her too, but now I have to pick someone else. I'm going to pick 2, one more the nostalgic and one of the more current-ish, for the lack of a better word. My nostalgic one is 1983, my favorite Eurovision year, probably. I love almost every single song except for the winner. Luxembourg's winning song was really boring. So I would replace Luxembourg with Israel. That was just a great song, Ofra Haza. That's a nostalgic one. And in terms of more recent, this is a tricky one, but I feel as one of the worst winners we've had in a long time is Azerbaijan in 2011, but at the same time, there isn't really a song that I can say this one deserved to win, because I hardly liked any song that year. So I would probably say get rid of Azerbaijan and then just don't have a winner. There's just not a song that but I have to replace it with one. I would put probably Bosnia and Herzegovina that I enjoyed the most, probably. So that would have been my choices. Do you think there is a high chance for a song in Estonian to go to Eurovision, especially with this format? When was the last time they sent a song in Estonian? 2013 was one. Let me. That was the last time, 2013, right?
Yeah, it's been a while.
And I love the Estonian language.
Yeah, I'd have to look at it on the Wikipedia here.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I would like for them to go back to, I mean, that can do really well. Think of 2012, Kula. I mean, what, 6th place? I think, again, I sound like a broken record, but 21, more than any other year, has proven a good song will do well. If it's in English, in French, in whatever, let's make up a language. Saint-Maurice. If you sing in Saint-Maurice, you can do that as well. So I don't think there is an issue singing a different language. And no, different genres. Then we can have a conversation here. Let's take a look here. I've got so many people speaking in Italian. I cannot read that. So any other questions at ESC United? Sandra saying that Sean, the closest I've ever been to Salt Lake. Oh, there was an internal discussion. Sorry, I thought it was ESC United, not Sean. Yeah, so I think that's all we have for today. People are actually asking, that's a good question. I meant to ask that earlier. It's like, Rufus, are you worried that Italy is behind in its preparations? Do you think that Italy will struggle with the hosting process, or you think they have it under control? Because again, they've been out of the Eurovision loop for so long, but they have a lot of resources, a lot of money, and a lot of support, right? What do you think?
Right. I also think they're sort of cursed with having a bum rap for one of the few bad hostings, because a lot of people bring up 91.
Totally.
So I think they're still wearing that as an albatross around their neck.
This is like their redemption hosting effort here. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd like to think that they're on track, and it's going to go smoothly. They have an established arena. They have a well-known, critically acclaimed design team. So far, it looks like they're on track and are making the right decisions.
Yeah, I think so too. They just and I know the delegations have changed over the years, but they've been ready for years to host it. Like in previous years, like especially 2017, they already had like things laid out to host it, right? So I am fairly confident that they will not be behind, and especially they had the advantage now going second after Rotterdam with the COVID environment set up, so they have that advantage as well. So I don't see a major hiccup coming our way from that perspective, just because it's Italy. That was 30 years ago, and
Yeah.
oh gosh, it was 30 years ago. And so it I am not too worried. Okay, that's one question for you from Ahmed T. What does James think? Lena or Manga in 2010?
Oh, that's a tough one.
And
oh boy.
finish it. Greetings from Turkey.
Oh boy.
No pressure.
So I got a Turk and a German staring at me asking this one. Given manga's genre, I have to say I have a slight preference for We Could Be the Same.
Goodbye. So let's talk. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead, James.
But that being said, I thought Lena was a very, very strong winner.
Yeah.
I even liked her host song that came in, her repeat that came in 11th the next year. I thought that was even slightly better than Satellite. I was in the minority on that one, I guess. But no, that's a really tough question. But I have a slight preference for We Could Be the Same.
Actually, it's funny because I know I'm the German here, so I may be biased, but I actually more than anyone has been quite critical when it comes to German entries. I just love Lena's song. To me, was exactly what I love. It was quirky, it was fun, it was happy, and I gravitate towards that kind of music often. So that's why I have such a soft spot, and I feel as it doesn't feel as dated. You know, not like manga is great too. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that song to me just feels like such a good Eurovision winner, and it's a song that I go back to all the time. With We Could Be the Same, I enjoy the live performance. I don't listen to it in the studio version as much, so it's an absolute live performance smash. But I just love Satellite. I just cannot get enough of it. But that's just my opinion, of course. You all are allowed to agree. Anyways, that's the show for today. Thank you so much. By the way, I will start being on Twitch soon. If you want to just chat, I do play video games there, Final Fantasy. So I hope to see if some of you, if you're interested, feel free to come over. If not, I'll see you soon with the next video. I also got to listen to Albanian songs, and I got to do Junior. Oh, okay, there's so much going on. James, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you didn't hate it completely.
No, I liked it. Thank you.
Okay, good. Making sure. Want to make sure. All right, then I will see you all very soon. Thanks for watching, and y'all have a good day. Bye.
Adios, muchachos.